I was unprepared. There was a murder at a barbershop. So awkward. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about my bad internship experience. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to complain to you about this terrible thing I did, how it was so stupid and they were mean to me. It's not like that. In fact, the bad internship was actually one of the most useful things I could have done at that time. So, I will tell you that doing an internship will teach you the reality of the profession that you think you want. Internships will allow you to get college credit, and that's exactly what I was trying to do. Please don't do what I did though. Don't just decide during your last semester in college that you need to do an internship and, basically cram it in your final semester. Because if something goes wrong, you may not graduate on time. Nobody wants that hassle. So I applied for an internship to a news station, and I'm not going to tell you which news station this was. If you really want to find out, you could go back and watch my very first video, or I drop a little picture, and it's a little hint of where I was. At the time, what's going on here? At the time, I thought this internship would look really prestigious on a resume, and I thought once I completed the internship, I'd graduate and then they'd give me a fabulous job recommendation and then I'd be good to go. But alas, no. I did learn that I needed an attitude change, and I also learned that I should have gotten more experience while in college. Try to up the ante. I'm not telling you need to do an internship every single semester, but try to work a little harder than I did, if you know what you want to do especially. So here's the reality about working for a company for free. Let me explain. So most, or perhaps many companies cannot afford to pay a college student to come and observe their place. They won't do that. So do not get an unpaid internship unless you think it's absolutely beneficial. Or save up a little bit of money, work some in the summer, and then use that money to help buy some professional clothes, and you'll be better off, because I was unprepared. So back then I thought I wanted to be on TV and I wanted to be a news reporter, and I thought I'll gain great experience. They're going to be so helpful. They're going to care about me. They're going to encourage me. They're basically going to give me a job, or at least eventually give me a job. No. If you don't know how a news station works, when you turn on the news, you see a reporter, you see the anchorman, and you probably see some footage and you hear a voiceover. If something happens, and it could be anything, it could be a creek flooding, it could be an apartment fire, it could be a major wreck, it could be, oh, so-and-so celebrity's in town, we have to send somebody down and interview and get footage right away. And the station will send one camera guy and one reporter to the scene. So for example, one story I had the pleasure of witnessing was there was a murder at a barbershop, and so I got to show up after and just wait while the cameraman got footage of this empty place, and it was way after the fact, so it was kind of a little bit of a letdown. So I was kind of like, oh, something terrible happened here, and I'm glad I wasn't here to see it, but also it's a little anticlimactic. What can I do here besides pretend that I'm reporting on it, okay? All right. When a reporter and a camera guy are on the scene, they have arrived to that scene in a satellite truck. So the satellite truck is simply called a sat truck, and the purpose of this vehicle is to be able to shoot on site. The reporter's standing, they're talking, they're going live usually, and then they will broadcast that story out into the network, into the up there somewhere. So thus, it uses satellite. And these trucks are not made for comfort. They do not have aisle seating or anything. There's one seat for the camera guy who drives all the time, and then one seat for the reporter. That's it. So this news station, they told us as interns, they said, there's just a few of you. if you want to go out on a story, you can only go out on a story if one camera guy is out, meaning the camera guy drives the truck and you, the little lowly intern, get to sit in the passenger seat and just chat with the camera guy. Now, ideally, a good camera guy will allow you to interview. Now, interns cannot be on TV, but they can at least ask a few questions, just, kind of, build up your confidence. My very first camera guy was this really mean old man who did not want me to speak. The whole purpose was to go and actually interview the Reverend Jeremiah Wright. And if you know who that is, just look back to the Obama days. You may have heard that name. The camera guy said, now, he's going to sit there and face you, but you can't ask any questions. And I thought, isn't the point of an internship to practice and get experience? I don't have to be on TV yet because Lord knows I'm not ready to be. But he was just like, you can't talk, you can't ask any questions. So I thought, okay, well, maybe I won't go out with this camera guy anymore. And during that semester, there were about 5 interns. And so usually I was there with at least one other college student. And they told us that if you want to go out on a story and the story is big enough to where a reporter and a camera guy were out on it, you of course couldn't legally ride into the SAT truck with them. You had to follow them in your car in the city. When I'm not really, well, at least back then, I wasn't a very good driver. I wasn't used to a 6-lane highway, and I thought, that sounds ultra risky. I'm not gonna do that. Here's the thing, that was probably one of my first mistakes, because had I really been gung-ho, I would have gone out I would have followed them. There was an intern who did that all the time. I just thought, I can't follow them in my dinky little college car. So I'll just wait and see, and if they ask me to go out with them, I will. And if there's not an opportunity, I'll just sit here on the computer and write stories and just wait. Then, opportunity struck. There was a major apartment fire just outside of the city. And of course, by this time, my hours were pretty late. It was probably about 8 or 9 o'clock at night. It was just a late night in April. And so it was getting chilly outside. And I was told, hey, so-and-so camera guy's gonna go out. Why don't you go with him? And I thought, good, this is gonna be a great opportunity. So I ride up there, and when we arrive on the scene, it's just absolute chaos. This entire apartment unit is ablaze in fire. There are gobs of firefighters everywhere, and they actually have the hose, and they're shooting water everywhere and it's like and then everybody else living in the apartment complex was just standing out there looking like, what else are you gonna do? It's bedtime, and yet your neighbor's house is on fire. So we get word that there might be a young boy trapped inside, and so there's tension, there's fear. Most people have exited the building except for this one small kid, a young boy trapped inside. So I'd ridden up there with the camera guy. Well, another reporter and another camera guy showed up from our news station. And so this reporter, at first, she seemed very nice and very professional. She did give me some advice. She said, if you're going to do this job, just know that you will start at the bottom of the totem pole, meaning you will get the worst hours. You will work nights, you will work weekends. And also she told me to find an outlet. She said, find an outlet because you're gonna see a lot of dead kids and a lot of other things that might really get to you. A lot of dark stuff. And me, I didn't really want to hear that. So of course I thought, that's surely not every time, okay, this she's intense. She's okay. So she was there for a few hours. I suppose she interviewed somebody. I kept thinking about going out and talking to people, but I also felt kind of harsh and insensitive to interview neighbors and say, hey, do you think that kid is trapped inside? Isn't it terrible that your neighbor's place is on fire and here you are safe and nice and, but I just thought, I don't really want to bother anybody, and I'll just observe and I'll wait till I'm ready. I'll play it safe. Well, time was creeping by. We sat out there forever watching the firefighters swoosh, swoosh, swoosh with the water, and I'd actually never really seen firefighters in action in person. So that was quite a sight to behold. And so, of course, remember it's night. We've got this, you can actually, the closer you got to the fire, the more you felt this warmth. And you just thought, this is a terrible scene. Like, what can I do to help? Not really anything except pray, like, what can you do? So after quite a while, this reporter and, her camera guy, they say, well, our shift is up. We have to go. And I thought, oh, well, you know what? I've technically been with you guys for 10 hours. First few hours at the news station, and now we've been out here 2 or 3 hours or more. I thought, can I ride back with you guys? And they said, oh, sorry. They won't let you ride back with us. There's only 2 chairs, and there's nowhere else for you to sit. We can't legally bring you. And I just thought,
Oh,
I should have used this opportunity as, oh man, this is my first night with strangers, like just outside the city at an apartment fire. Like, this is an opportunity for me to just step up, be tough, ask questions, and be patient. Did I do that? No. Of course, I broke down and cried, and I'm like, I'm stuck here with this one camera guy. That reporter and her guy, they left. So I was there with this strange man and all these other strangers in this apartment complex. I was sitting in the truck, and cold air was creeping in, and at the time, I wasn't really dressed properly. I had like these thin dress pants. I don't even think I had my coat with me. I just said, hey, camera guy person, how long are we going to be here? And they said, well, we have to stay until that boy is found inside. And I thought, I don't want to know if he's in there. Like, if there's a dead child, I don't want to see that. That's terrible. So he told me that his shift, I wish I could remember this part better to make it more dramatic for you guys, but really, the camera guy said his shift did not end till like 1 or 2 in the morning. And of course that was overstaying my required hours. And so I thought, I'm stuck out here till the wee hours in the cold at this apartment fire, and there's nothing I can do to help. And so I thought, gosh, how can I get out of this situation? Like, how can I split? My car wasn't there. My college was like a good hour and a half away. And so I thought, I've at least got to get back to the news station. How can I get back there? Well, I did have one last resort. At the time, my boyfriend and his family were somewhere in the city. I'm not sure what they were up to, but I called and said, hey, hate to do this to you, but I'm kind of stuck in this place. I don't have a ride, and the person I rode up with, they're not supposed to leave. So do you think you guys could come and get me? I'll give you the address. And I asked the camera guy, and from our news station, I'm like, hey, I think I have a ride. Is that okay? And he didn't give me any guff about it. He was just like, oh, well, yeah. I just don't remember feeling guilty about leaving or having any resistance, because I thought, this is not a situation that is beneficial to me. I can't help these people. I wish I could, but I couldn't. So I waited a while for them to come and get me, but they showed up and I left, and I thought, man, well, that was kind of rough, but thanks, guys. You got me out of that situation. Well, the very next day, I don't know if it was the next day or basically the next time I showed up at my internship. I walked in feeling like, okay, what are we going to do today? And they called me. They said, come in here and talk to the producer. I'm like, huh? Oh, yeah, they need to see you. Okay. So I went in there and sat down. And by the way, a producer is just a person who helps to compile stories, and they work in the news station. And otherwise, I'm not sure what they do. This lady, she had her hair up in a bun and was wearing like a hoodie, like real casual. And so she didn't look like this fierce, intimidating corporate person or anything. But I sat down there like, hi, yeah, what's wrong?
so I heard what happened at that apartment fire last weekend.
Yes, that was the worst. Oh man, yeah.
We heard that you left the scene. You were there with one of our camera guys and you left the scene.
What?
You were not supposed to do that. In fact, We have considered terminating the internship because legally you were not supposed to leave that scene. And we were wondering if the young boy was trapped inside the apartment. He was.
Ugh, yeah, I'm a little bit embarrassed to admit it, but of course I broke down and cried because, like, that's what you do when you want to kind of, just explain that you're innocent in the situation. And I said, I'm sorry, I felt uncomfortable, and I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I guess I should have stayed there because I wasn't paid to be there, but I suppose I could have just, had some real grit about it and just stuck it through. And finally, she sort of backed down, was like,
Well, don't do it again.
as I'm rehashing all of this, I just remembered something else that she said. The producer was like, basically telling me that that reporter that had been on site and had been giving me advice about the totem pole and hours and all that, she kind of ratted me out and said that I had been complaining, and then I said, this is so stupid and all that. And I just thought, good grief, like, why wouldn't this lady understand that I was this, like, little bitty college intern who was just, like, kind of trying to get my feet wet? Like, I didn't know. And I hate that there was a young boy trapped inside who died. I hate that I was too weak to handle it. But yeah. And as you've probably figured out, once that thing ended and I graduated, I actually never heard from those people again. Fortunately, I did have a professor who he knew that I had the internship, and he made sure I had those hours credited, and with my advisor, because I never could get a hold of the lady in charge of the internship program. Once it was over, I was like, hey, I need documentation to prove that I completed the hours, and I never heard anything. And so I just thought, geez, well, I could be offended and tell my entire university, don't you dare intern at this place. It turns out this particular news station does have a competitor, because all news stations and all companies have a competitor. And of course, word on the street is the other place was better, and that's fine. It's a tough gig. What I want you guys to get out of this is go ahead and get your experience early on. Don't wait until the final semester when you realize that you realize too late, wow, I'm miserable doing this, and to start life a little later than I thought. I've got to go just work a few odd jobs, save money, and figure out what I want to do. If you want to get out of your small town and do really well in a new job, it is much harder. The city doesn't allow the good old boy system, which honestly I was quite used to, and I wanted to get away from that. Guys, I hope you got something good out of this. If anything, it just gave me some practice with talking in front of the camera, because I still want to get better at doing this, because as you know, I tried years ago and no bueno. So, if you have an opinion about news stations, internships, learning things the hard way, please leave a comment below. If you subscribe, that actually helps my viewership, which eventually will allow me to become monetized so that I have more money to buy some of you presents. Thanks for listening, and until next time, this is Jessica from JPez Talks.